Let's talk about something that affects pretty much everyone. For the last 40 years or so, wages for a lot of people have just flatlined. At the same time, inequality has skyrocketed. So today, we're diving into a pretty big idea that could shake things up: sectoral bargaining. It's a totally different way of thinking about how workers can get a real voice in our economy.
All right, so to really get what we're talking about, we have to understand the problem we're trying to solve. And look, this isn't something that just happened overnight. For decades, the economic ground has been shifting under the feet of American workers. And the numbers, well, they paint a really clear picture.
This quote from David Madland just gets right to the heart of it. We're not talking about a little dip here and there. This is a 40-year trend. It's a deep, structural issue that has defined the economic reality for millions of people. And this number right here, this is a huge piece of the puzzle. Only 6%. That's how many private sector workers are in a union today. Now think about that. After World War II, that number was over a third. This isn't just a slow decline. It's practically a collapse of one of the main ways workers historically balance the scales. So that all begs a pretty big question, right? If the old model for building worker power isn't really cutting it on a large scale anymore, then what's next? What kind of new playbooks do we need for the economy we actually live in today? Well, this brings us to a potential answer that really flips the script. Instead of these isolated battles, workplace by workplace, what if we started thinking bigger? What if we looked at the entire industry at once? And that's the core idea behind sectoral bargaining. It sounds complicated, but it's actually pretty simple. Imagine this. Instead of the baristas at just one Starbucks trying to unionize, what if all the coffee shop workers in a whole city, from Starbucks to the little independent cafe down the street, all negotiated one big contract that set the wage and benefit standards for everyone? That's what we're talking about. Yeah, this slide just lays it out perfectly. The system we have now, it's like a game of whack-a-mole. You might win one fight here, but then 10 others pop up. Sectoral bargaining, on the other hand, creates a level playing field. It basically says, okay, companies, you can't compete by seeing who can pay their workers the least anymore. Instead, you have to compete on things like better service, better products, and being more innovative. So how do we get there? I mean, it's a great concept, but turning it into reality, especially in the US, is a massive challenge. Well, the research points to a pretty clear three-part strategy to make it happen. And here's the framework. I want you to think of it like building a really sturdy structure. You need these three essential pillars to hold it all up. First, you've got to strengthen the foundation by making it easier for unions to even exist and organize. Second, you need a way to take a win from one union and spread it to everyone else in that industry. And third, for those industries where unions are almost non-existent, you need something called wage boards to set a basic floor for pay and benefits. All right, let's pop the hood and look at the actual tools in this toolkit. We're going to break down the specific policies inside each of those pillars. This is how you would actually start building a sectoral bargaining system, piece by piece. So Pillar 1 is all about getting back to basics and restoring some fairness to the whole process. This means putting real teeth into the penalties for companies that break the law. It means making it simpler to form a union through things like card check, and getting rid of laws that are basically designed to starve unions of funding. It's about giving workers a fighting chance from the very beginning. Now, this second pillar, contract extension, this is where things get really interesting. This is a real game changer. It means one successful contract negotiation doesn't just help the workers at one company, it can be used to lift the standards for an entire industry in a whole city or region. Everyone benefits. And there are a couple of key ways to do this. You can expand what are called prevailing wage laws, or there's this really cool idea from Canada called the Bagent-Ready model. Just imagine a really great master contract already exists for an industry. With this model, anytime a new workplace organizes, they automatically get plugged into that same awesome contract. It just speeds everything up. Okay, but what about those industries where unions have almost no presence? That's where the third pillar, wage boards, becomes absolutely essential. Basically, you create a board with people representing workers, employers, and the public, and they have the power to set minimum standards for an entire sector. And this is so important for the modern economy. I mean, think about gig workers or home healthcare aides. How do you even begin to organize them workplace by workplace when the workplace is an app on your phone or someone's private home? It's almost impossible. A wage board can step in and create a safety net where traditional organizing just can't get a foothold. Okay, so let's just take a step back. We've just gone over a really powerful set of tools here: strengthening unions, extending their contracts, and using wage boards. It's a comprehensive toolkit that could seriously reshape the economy for working people. But, and this is a big but, having all these amazing tools brings up a really tough strategic question. When you have so many good options, where on earth do you begin? Which one do you push for first?
And here's the crucial point. As great as all these policies are, in the real world of politics and advocacy, trying to do everything at once is usually a recipe for getting nothing done. Real success often comes from choosing one single priority, putting all your energy behind it and building momentum from there. So that's the strategic choice we're left with, and I'll leave you with this question to think about. If you had to pick just one of these tools to start with, which one would it be? Would you focus on shoring up existing unions, or would you try to build something totally new with wage boards? The answer to that question could really shape the future of work in America.